I'm Jennifer Neuman with Tidewell Hospice. I am a community relations representative, so it's my job to go around and educate the public on our services and let people know what hospice really is, because there are a lot of misconceptions. I'm going to do things a little differently today. I'm not going to go through my normal Tidewell presentation. I'm going to touch on some other things. I do want to just give a brief little educational spiel about what hospice care really is. Hospice is a philosophy of care. It's not necessarily a place. A lot of people think hospice is a place. It is to some degree, because yes, we do have hospice houses that our patients can go to if they need crisis care. If their symptoms can't be managed where they live, then we will move a patient into our hospice house in order to get them stabilized and feeling better, with the goal of getting them back to their home. This is Tidewell's 40th year, so it's our 40th anniversary. We are in Charlotte, DeSoto, Manatee, and Sarasota counties. So those are all the places that we have great teams that help our communities manage, their symptoms with life-limiting illnesses. It's really important to educate people on hospice, because so many people are missing out on that great level of care. And I know a lot of times when I am out in the public, and especially at health fairs, if I have a table set up, that people try to avoid me, and people will walk by and say, "Oh, I don't need that," or "I'm not ready for that." But what I want to tell people is, it's not a question of if someone's going to need it, it's when someone's going to need it, because the majority of us here at some point in our lives will be eligible for hospice care. Because the bottom line is, most people just don't have a car wreck and pass away. Most of us, as we age, will end up with some type of life-limiting illness. To be eligible for hospice, you have to have a life-limiting illness with a prognosis of 6 months or less. And there has to be no what do I call it? You can't be receiving treatment. So basically, if you've exhausted all of the treatments available for that illness, and there are no more treatments, that makes someone eligible. The 6-month prognosis, and they're no longer receiving treatments. Now, that doesn't mean if a patient went on hospice, and typically I use a cancer patient as my example, because with cancer, we know they're always developing new chemos, just new treatments. So if a patient who had cancer was getting treatment from Tidewell, and their doctor says, "Hey, we've got this experimental drug, do you want to try it?" then that patient would just go off of hospice care, receive that treatment, and hopefully it would be successful. If it wasn't successful and they start declining again, they can go right back onto hospice care. So once someone goes on hospice, they're not, stuck on hospice until they pass away. They can revoke it if they're not happy, or they can seek treatment. So that's really a common misconception in our communities about hospice care. In 2019, Tidewell took care of 9,958 patients in those 4 county service areas. So that's a lot of people receiving our care. But one of the biggest things that we see is that they don't get the care soon enough. A lot of times patients are sent to us when they're days or hours from actually passing away. So they've not had the opportunity to receive the extra care from our care teams, which is a nurse, a CNA, a social worker, a chaplain. So they've not received all of those benefits. And we do also have our doctors who oversee the plan of care for each patient. One thing too that's a big misconception is that patients can't receive any other therapies if they're in hospice, and that's absolutely not true. If a patient needs physical therapy or respiratory therapy or any other type of therapy that will help them feel better, then absolutely we will provide those therapies to them. It's not just about pain management or pain medications. it's about the whole body and mind. It's spiritual and physical. When our patients and families come onto service, we give them this patient and family resource guide. And this is wonderful. The families really love it because it basically walks them through everything that's going to happen until that patient passes away. So it's really a wonderful resource for them. We don't just say, here, go read this. We help them along each step of the way. And absolutely, if there's any questions about what is in the resource guide, that's addressed either with our clinical staff or social workers or chaplains. There's other things that a lot of people aren't aware that Tidewell does. We're not just focused on just the hospice and the medical care. We have a lot of complementary programs that we provide to our patients, and we're able to provide those because we have a lot of wonderful donors who donate through our Tidewell Foundation. We are nonprofit, so we have a foundation set up, and donors can actually say where they want their funds to go. You can pick, if there's something in particular that you really support, or you can just say, I don't care, wherever there's the greatest need, the money can go. But those complementary services are really just something extra that our patients do not have to pay for, that really help them while they're battling their illness. We have pet therapy, aromatherapy, Reiki, horticulture. We have clowns that come in and entertain and make them feel better. So those are all additional things that Tidewell provides. We also have what's called children's services. It's not a complimentary program, but it is for children under the age of 21 who have chronic conditions and advanced illnesses with no known cure. Our team will come in and we focus on hope and life for the children. They can also seek aggressive treatment while they are in our care. So that's a little different than just our regular hospice care for adult patients. So that's really a great program. We also have our Veterans Honors Program. Tidewell wants to honor all of our veteran patients. Our staff and our volunteers are trained on how to identify individual concerns with our military people. And it doesn't matter if they've served in combat or if they've served in peacetime. They are unique and they have different concerns than some of our other patients. Tidewell also has a nurse residency program. And the residency program was started by a wonderful donor, and it continues to be donor funded. If an RN has just graduated and he or she is interested in hospice care, they can come under our nurse residency program and work for a year in the program to gain all that experience. So that's something relatively new that we have added. So if you guys know of anybody who is in nursing school or they're a recent graduate and they're interested in the residency program, just have them give us a call. That's wonderful. One thing that I have been speaking about also in our meetings, and I know I've spoken about this at some of the LCBW meetings, is our Blue Butterfly Family Grief Center. Blue Butterfly is strictly for children between the ages of 5 and 18 and their caregivers. The first Blue Butterfly facility was opened in Lakewood Ranch, and they now have their own standalone building. We've recently opened a Blue Butterfly Family Grief Center in Port Charlotte, and we are at the, the name just escapes me. We are doing it at a church right now in Port Charlotte, and I will get you all that information. With the goal of hopefully having a standalone building. And what's so great about this program is Tidewell has trained clinicians there, licensed social workers, to do peer activities with the children. So they're actually with children of their own ages. They're in groups. And they do a lot of wonderful activities to help the children work through their grief. And I know that we have children that attend the facility in Lakewood Ranch who've actually been in the program 2 years, just because they've made friends, and they really enjoy it. They really enjoy what it has done for them. The families are served a meal, which is complimentary. No family is ever charged coming to the Blue Butterfly Family Grief Center. So I think that's really one of the best parts about it, is it's open to every family and every child within our 4-county service area. So we really are out promoting that right now. So I would appreciate it if everyone here would spread the word. If you're not close to Charlotte County, like I said, we do have one in Lakewood Ranch, and we are also converting our Ellington Hospice House into a Blue Butterfly Family Grief Center. That's going on right now. Few other things, excuse me, that we offer. Because we are a nonprofit and we have our foundation, there's a lot of wonderful things through our donors that we are able to offer our patients and their families. And one of those things is a wishes fund. So, you know, there's the wishes that are granted for children. Well, our wishes fund helps our patients. Through our social workers and their time with the different patients, they find out a lot of stuff about the patient, and we will grant wishes. If we find out that there's a patient who may have an estranged family member that they really would like to see before they pass, we try to arrange for that person to come. Our social worker will reach out to the family member, and if there's an issue with transportation, maybe they can't afford it, we have arranged for transportation for these people to come and see our patient. We've also done birthday celebrations, anniversary celebrations. Sometimes a patient wants to have their favorite meal. They had a favorite restaurant. If the patient is not physically able to go to the restaurant, then we will bring the food to them. There have been some other wishes that have been a little more extravagant than that. One that I like to talk about is a flight. We had a patient who had been a pilot, and he wanted to fly one more time. The patient had Parkinson's disease. He wasn't actually able to fly the plane, but we had a wonderful donor who had a plane, who took this gentleman up, took him for a flight. So it's stuff like that that we provide, because small things are so important to patients and their families. So that's one other wonderful thing that we have. So I like sharing that little thing with people. Let's see, I already told you how many patients we served. Tidewell also has over 1,200 active volunteers. Now, COVID's hurt everybody, and COVID really has hurt our volunteers. We do have a lot of volunteers that are elderly, so they've not been able to be out and be active like they like to be. So that's been one thing that has really, COVID has really hurt us with that, and hurt our volunteers. They like to be out and about, they like to do things, they like to be involved. One other thing about COVID, Tidewell does take care of COVID patients. Our Venice Hospice House is COVID dedicated. So they do have to be a hospice eligible patient, so not just any COVID patient, but we are seeing COVID patients and have been since, you know, the whole COVID pandemic outbreak. One other thing I want to show you, I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, but I wanted to show you this because I think this lady's beautiful. This was also a wish that was granted. She wanted to be dressed up. She wanted to be made up and dressed up to feel like a princess. And unfortunately, even though this lady did get her wish, she passed away the following day. But her wish was granted, and she looked beautiful and felt beautiful. So sometimes I just like to talk about, other than just the medical aspect of hospice and what we do, I like to talk about the things that also make our patients smile. And a lot of our care focuses on that. It's making people feel good. It's making people happy. So we try to focus more on living than we do on the passing of the patient. So does anybody have any questions?